All right, guys, welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Homefront Podcast. This is the last episode of 2024. We just want to thank you guys so much for all the support. It's been pretty awesome to talk to you guys, meet some of you guys. But yeah, we are starting a new sponsorship with a company called Chexy. So you get to earn rewards on your rent. Why not? It's an awesome new platform. Your rent is probably your biggest expense if you're renting. And now you get to earn credit card points on it or cash back. So you basically can turn rent into the ultimate credit card rewards. Like I said, you can get 4% cash back, roughly free 3 flights to North America by the time you pay it all. This is the average rent. So if your rent's even higher, it's even better. And yeah, they're just a great new Canadian startup, and we're going to partner with them. Your landlord.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry to chime
No,
in
go
there
ahead.
because paying rent and getting credit card points.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, because even think about it. Like some credit cards allow you to pay down your credit card with points. So rent kind of becomes cheaper. Like
Yeah, you're getting
10,000
$400.
points is $1,000.
Yeah.
So once you've spent 10,000 in rent, you can pay down your credit
You can
card.
almost get a
too.
free
Yeah.
month of rent.
I think it's
back.
great. I think it is a great company.
Yeah. And so you can go on their website, which I'll put down below, and you can go with our link as well. You can calculate how much you can earn roughly on your rent. Your landlord doesn't even need to be involved. So you basically create like a wallet through Chexy. The money goes into the wallet before the first of the month or whenever you pay. And then your landlord will get paid from that wallet. So they don't even know that it's coming from Chexy, which is awesome. You know, here's some different people who have said that they like it. Basically, some guy said he earned 70,000 Aeroplan points, which is a lot.
Nice.
Which is a lot of points.
Yeah.
Alex V, 500 cash back, 600 cash back, 30,000 Aeroplan points. Yeah, so it's a great little thing to do if you want to have some free flights in 2025. And yeah, we'll link everything down below, and we'll have more on them as the time goes on. But yeah, thanks Chexy for sponsoring the show, and we hope you guys check them out. All right.
Excellent.
So today,
Down to business.
Brooke and I are going to talk about our top predictions for 2025.
Yeah.
Politically,
You know what we should do actually is, I guess next episode is go back to last December and see
Yeah.
who is more bang on because
that's true. I know that last year I said Trudeau was going to step down,
oh
which was, I still think he will. I'm just going to be a little bit off, but
yeah.
that was a pretty bold statement.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And he's getting pressure from not only just every other political party, but
Even his own.
MPs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
That's-
crazy.
Yeah.
I saw that he was going to get 6 seats potentially. An Angus Reid poll, 6, like behind the NDP, behind the Bloc Québécois, which is wild. But okay, why don't you start us off with your first prediction?
Well, here's the thing. I do think that there's big egos involved with everything going on politically. So he's going to find a way to either introduce somebody as if like this is, the new person and do it in a way that kind of makes him save face, right? Like I think Chrystia Freeland stepped down to make her save face when the budget, the false statement came out. She resigned so that she kind of kept her power a little bit instead of facing the fact that, hey, you're the finance minister. Like a lot of this problem is you. So her stepping down and putting it on Trudeau was a kind of a power move. I see right through it, but I think he'll do something like that. But I think he will come down. I'm not too sure of the way he'll do it. I don't think he's just going to announce I'm stepping down. I think there's going to be some sort of ploy involved in that happening, but I do see that happening soon.
Yeah, I agree. So my prediction was that Jagmeet Singh is going to call an election sooner than we all think. And I know he's been like propping him up, but the reason why is because the NDP are actually like, they could potentially be the official opposition to the Conservatives. So it puts them in a good position going forward to gain more seats. Now, I think if Trudeau steps down, they're going to lose a lot of seats to people who will come back to the Liberal side. I think so. I think that Jagmeet wants to get an election out there once he gets, like, his pension's going to be there.
Yeah.
And then he's going to gain more seats than he's ever had. So other than not being able to coalition with the Liberals, but that won't happen anyway come the end of the year. So he might as well set himself up for, okay, I got my pension and I got the most seats for the NDP. Rah, rah, rah. Yeah. I'm the best. Yeah. Keep me as the leader.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think it's going to work. But
interesting.
That's my 2 cents.
Something's cooking because they're off right now.
Yeah, they're off. More MPs have called him to step down. Pierre put out a video today called like Wacko. You have to watch it. It's 11 minutes. I'll send it to you after. It's 11
Yeah.
minutes on YouTube of just like the evolution of like Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and like Stephen Guilbeault and everything and like what they've said throughout the years that
Oh
have
my
gotten us here.
God.
It
The
was
marketing
just,
is just getting
oh, it was
out of
just,
whack.
it
Hey?
was crazy. And I think that every, like even Jagmeet Singh put out like a piece of like kind of like campaigning already, like getting ready for an election, if that makes sense. Like the NDP is going to do this to help you. And then Trudeau kind of did the same as well. I don't know if it was maybe in the bank at one point, but what they're doing is they're going after Pierre saying like, he's going to give all the cuts Pierre, and nobody wants Pierre because he's going to do the cuts. So like, I think they're going to start campaigning early as the election will come before the end of the year.
It is a little bit of a catch-22 though, because our economy and Canadians are broker than they've ever been, but Pierre will make cuts, whereas the Liberals and the NDP are more of, you know, the services that help the lower class and middle class a little bit more. But the budget is so out of whack, it needs to be balanced. So it's a catch-22 because it's almost like calls for a little bit more pain. Like Canada's broker than they've ever been, right? But that needs to happen for things to get back into alignment. And Pierre will make those cuts because simply Canada can't afford to keep servicing like these tax holidays and all of those things that do maybe help somebody that can't afford a gift for their kids on Christmas. That stuff just won't happen. So does that put some people in a worse position than they're already in if they hire, or I guess not hire, elect somebody that's going to make further cuts? So it's one of those balancing acts. Come up, Abby.
Yeah, 100%. I think that we'll see cuts to many things. And I think, you know, the cuts we do need to see are money to other countries and cuts in government where we have less workers in the public sector. I just don't think like it's sustainable to have all of the job growth coming from the public sector. But I guess so our first two predictions are Trudeau's out. Yeah. Which seems like an obvious one, but I did say it last time, so I'm taking my clout for it.
Yeah, so that's being carried forward. But no, I agree with you. I think that there's going to be something, even in as early as January, something.
I think so.
Something's going to happen.
At least in the spring. I just can't imagine Jagmeet Singh can go on till November when the election's supposed to be, or October, November. I just
either way, 2025 is going to have a change of leadership. Either way, whether it waits till November, I don't think that's going to happen. Either way, there's going to be a change in leadership.
I think so for sure too.
Okay, so we're aligned on our first prediction. Okay. What about the market?
Second prediction?
Yeah.
Okay, so my second prediction leads into my third prediction, but I'll go for it. So population growth will decline as students and non-permanent residents leave. So I think that for the first time in a while, as we see population growth stall, we'll also see a lot of people, the 4.9 million. I don't think all of them are going to willingly leave. I think that's an insane thing to think about. But I think that when I watch these TikTok videos and stuff of people who go up and they interview people from places like India, and most of them say the same thing is, we're going back. There's no jobs here. We thought there was going to be ways to make money. It hasn't been worth it. And basically they're all saying we're going back. That I've seen, maybe it's just my algorithm shooting at me. I'm sure there's a lot of people who do want to stay. But like we've talked about so many times on the show, if you kill the demand side of the equation, prices will come down in rentals and in home prices. So that's my opinion. So it leads into my third one, but I'll save that for the end.
Yeah, it's tough to really support a massive price growth for those reasons. However, I do think that there's been a lot of pent-up demand, and with some of the new regulations like, the less down payment kind of thing, interest rates having come down, economic stability, a little bit more of it, I think that we'll see an uptick not only in activity, but in, like areas surrounding transit, easy to, commute, the duplex triplexes in cities like Toronto, Brampton, Hamilton. I think we're going to see an increase in those. Just they did come down so substantially. And then if you think about having those, pent up demand, and which will kind of stand out if there was going to be a certain type of homes that will increase in price, I think it's going to be the multi-res sector. So I do think that, because Ottawa just experienced a 10% increase. I think that we'll we'll see an increase 8 to 10%, I think, in the duplex multi-res sector, especially in cities like Hamilton, Brampton, Toronto, and houses surrounding public transit. Like you remember when we saw Kitchener have that crazy increase in price, and then it came down so much? Well, it's so kind of out of the way, right? So along the QEW, where the core of the GTA is, I guess, west, I think we'll see an uptick in prices.
Yeah. I mean, you make some good points. Like they are extending the amortization for some first-time homebuyers to put less money now. Now, you and I both know it's a ploy.
Yeah.
That you're just paying more interest over time, but not a lot of people know that, right? A lot of
like
people
30
look
years.
at.
So if you buy a payment, right? So if I'm going to buy a house for a 30-year amortization period versus 25 years, well, my payment's going to be less now. And am I really going to stay there for 30 years, or do I have equity build up over time? And then I, use that to buy something else, put a bigger chunk down, bring that payment or the amortization down. So unless I'm buying and I'm sitting there for 30 years, I can change things and just make it doable for now. And then, in 5 years, maybe I do have that equity that I can use and buy something else, bring that amortization schedule down.
You would need to have made enough equity to make up for the 15% that you didn't put down if you put down 5, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be a big jump.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and maybe not hopefully, because I think prices are high, but maybe you have to plan. That's a good conversation that we should have with people if they are doing that, is that, hey, you should plan to stay here a lot longer than like 5 years, because you won't be able to jump unless you save up enough money. Is that something you think you can do to the next house?
Right.
So that's actually a good conversation to have with someone.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of having a rental property, putting 5% down, putting the least amount in, live upstairs, rent the basement.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Right? Because then it's being serviced and your payment is lower. And then, eventually maybe you move out and fill your top floor where you were living with a different renter, because the goal of rental properties is to have the least amount of money in it, but not be negative cash flow. So if I only have 5% down and 2 tenants are covering it, I don't care if it's 30 years, whatever.
I just don't know if you can do that. I don't think you can move out of it.
Well, you can. Who's going to stop you?
I don't know. I guess if you got caught, though, I guess.
Are they going to demand more money? I don't think I think to put down 5%, it has to be your primary residence. So I've always lived, I've put down more than 5%, but I've always lived in the top floor of my rental properties.
Right.
But when I leave, no one's
asking
me for a more down payment, right? And then even too, it does go up in value. So then does your equity plus your down payment equal 80%, over a couple years?
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting calculation. I'm trying to think of the numbers in my head, how high it would need to go up. But you make a good point. Like, I think that if you do have some first time home buyers coming in with less money down, maybe that props up the market for a little bit. And then if interest rates do fall, like the Bank of Canada continues to cut and bond yields do come down, could we see more affordable interest rates? Yeah, there's a few catalysts that could go.
They need to come down a little bit more too, to even ignite production or supply
with businesses and stuff.
With businesses,
and the economy and people spending.
Yeah, the economy. I mean, here we're at inflation of 2%. So everybody thinks, okay, that's great. But our economy is so bad right now.
Our economy is horrible. Our inflation rate is not bad. And the states have the opposite. Their economy is so good, but their inflation, they can't get it down to 2%. Yeah. So we have this push and pull. Yeah. And why I don't think rates are going to come down as fast as they may have in 2024 is because our dollar's just getting smoked. Yeah. And the states aren't dropping as quickly as we started dropping. Yeah. And I know Chrystia Freeland said that's an amazing thing, but it's not an amazing thing to drop rates fast. I mean, if you look at every time they drop rates really fast, it was 2008 financial crisis, COVID, .com bust, all these terrible things that happened. So I'm just not too sure on how many rates we're going to get. Like, I think the 50 basis point rate cuts are done. I think it's just going to go 25 basis points, and it's going to be very dependent on what the Fed does next, because how much lower can we go under 70 cents to the 100%. Dollar before we start importing
inflation? And our inflation is under control too.
It will get out of control though
if we get too far away from it.
And I think that's where they need to look at next is, okay, our dollar has dropped so much and it's a lagging indicator. So it takes time for us to import that inflation. Yeah. So could we see inflation reaccelerate in 2025? That is a worry of mine, where they have to stop dropping rates.
Yeah, because everybody panics when we get past that 2%
Yeah,
mark. Oh
no, the
my
markets
goodness.
react pretty quickly,
I
right?
feel like the economy was better when inflation was 3%. I mean,
Yeah, here we
it's
are.
not a good, because over time that's too much, right? If
Mhm.
everything is going up 3% per year, compounded, then I understand. But yeah, no, it's been quiet this holiday season.
Yeah, it's been quiet. I've had some conversations with some people kind of going into next year already, which is a decent sign. It just depends how long you've been in this market for. Like that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've got a guy who wants to sell his condo and he bought it in 2016 in Burlington. So like, yeah, maybe it's not 650 like it once was, but he's still
Right.
going to make a good amount of money
Yeah.
on it, right? So it's relative. Like if you bought a house 2 years ago,
Yeah.
obviously you're not in a good point
Yeah.
or in terms of equity standpoint.
Yeah.
But we have dropped a lot from the top. We just went up way too fast.
Oh my
That's the
goodness.
issue, right? Like if you look at, 2020 up to 2022, like that 2 years really did a lot of damage for the market, I think. Like the complexity and how fast that grew has really put us at a point where, okay, now like some places are down 20%, but they're still up 30%
Right.
from the beginning of COVID.
Right.
So you still have that imbalance of affordability in terms of income to house prices.
Yeah. I remember those years. Like my one duplex I bought for 700, and then over the course of that year and a half, I remember just keeping tabs on what's going on in the area. And I'm like, oh my God, it's worth 800 now. Like that was quick. And I'm like, oh my freaking God, it's worth 900. I'm like, oh my God, it's over $1 million now.
Yeah.
And it just like kept like, it was going up by hundreds of thousands because people were overpaying and setting new precedents for the area.
I don't even know how people like imagine being an appraiser. Like, oh, I was on the street 3 months ago and now it's
Oh
up
my God.
150,000 or something.
Yeah,
Like
it's all about
crazy.
precedents, right? So, and that's the thing about having the nicest house on the street or versus the least nicest house on the street and what, your neighbor may accept, right? If your neighbor with a comparable property is in a pinch and accepts a low ball because they just need out, well, that's the new data point. And
Mhm.
that's hard for other people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think we're kind of through it now though, like the high interest rates after having already kind of overpaying for a house in relative to where the prices are now. I think we saw that peak. So if you've held on, I think we're through the woods in that
Yeah.
regard.
I think you can get through it. I do, hopefully pending that unemployment doesn't go up and we see some people lose their jobs. So my last prediction was that I think like on a national scale, markets are very hyper local. So it's hard to say, but on a national scale, I think we'll decline again this year. But low, like 2-3% on a national scale. I think places like in Ontario only, I'm just focusing there, like Woodstock, Innisfil,
Yeah.
those places are going to see some declines because it's not like old Oakville where you have people who have worked for 35, 40 years. They work for banks, they work the doctors, whatever. Like they have money, they have cash. Like these new subdivisions that got built during COVID, like who's buying those for an expensive amount?
Yeah.
Like I saw one that sold for 1.5 in the peak. They just resold it for just over $1 million. So $500,000 loss, which is crazy. And I think that theme will continue in these new subdivisions because, just for an example, you're not going to have someone move to Innisfil who's been from, old Oakville their whole life, right? Like it's just probably not going to happen. So I see that those markets getting hit. I think Calgary will still be pretty good.
Yeah.
Not as hot as it was. But overall rental rates, I think are going to come down another 5-10%, even more. Yeah.
Wow.
With all these condo completions coming due. And just the exodus of people.
Right.
I just think it's going to, like I was seeing how many units were on the market to how many have leased out. And it's not a buyer's market, but a tenant market now.
Tenant market. Yeah. Well, our friend, remember, he has been renting in a building for the past couple of years, and one right above him, exact same layout, came to the market for $500 less, and he texted his landlord saying, "I'm either moving up there or you're
coming down."
right.
Yeah.
And so the landlord said, "Fine." But yeah, no, the rental market's still been tough, in landlords wrapping their head around getting less money the year later, because usually they think, okay, I can do a slight increase, per year, based on the rental guidelines or whatever the market is if you're not under rent control, and having to receive less money than you're used to, especially if you've made financial arrangements or refinance based on your rental numbers. That's been tough. So
yeah. Yeah, I
So
think.
you think rental prices and home prices are both going to fall?
Yeah, I think they're both going to fall. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And some areas are going to increase. Like, let me make that clear.
Yeah.
I'm just saying on a national scale,
Mm-hmm.
I think that prices are going to come down. I think there's going to be less investment money. Like we saw with Carmen last week. She's a big player. She knows a lot of people, with a lot of money, and they're moving their money elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think that theme will continue until Canada can really turn the ship around. I actually see our GDP going negative.
Wow.
If we pause immigration. I actually see that happening.
So then technically, in saying that, doesn't that mean for investors it'd be a good time to invest now?
It could be, yeah.
Like if it's more of a 5-10 year plan,
It
right?
could
Because you say
could be.
until Canada,
Yeah.
right?
I think Canada will turn it around. I want to make that clear. I'm bearish in the short term, but bullish in the long term.
Right.
So I think that Canada can be this place. Like, look at Trump, one of the biggest businessmen in the world, wants to come and,
I know.
make Canada one of its states. Well, the reality is because we have so many resources. Like,
Right.
let's be clear with that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of oil, a lot of water, a lot of wood,
Yeah.
and dog running around. And yeah, I'm bullish long term. So maybe it could be good for investors.
Mhm.
But I think people just need to tread lightly.
Right.
That's it.
I think with the interest rates continuing to come down, we're going to see more production or supply, I guess, because there is a margin where it makes sense. Even when I talk to clients now that are doing projects, right? They're like, for example, one is looking at a big piece of land, right? And then they have approvals for a high rise. Okay, so when we did all of the numbers of how much the land costs, okay, how much the build is going to cost, and then how much realistically will sell per square foot each unit, there's a huge profit margin already. And so if that continues to get better, there are profit margins in some areas. Like Toronto is very tough, and then especially with no buyers, yeah, it becomes tough. But as soon as buyers, start coming back to the market where things, first-time home buyers start getting back in, and there has been pent-up demand. I think
depends on the product though.
It does.
Like no first time, like condo buildings coming complete is just going to add more and more supply to the market. So like no first time home buyer, I think, is lining up who's educated and saying, I want to buy a condo from a pre-builder. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Unless you're a boutique condo or you're something, different, like the ones out in St. Catharines on the water that are 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
If I was going to retire and I wanted to be in that area, I'd buy that pre-construction just because it's a product that I actually want.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of investors leave the market because they're shoebox condos and bad finishes.
Yeah, they're just not getting rented out and XYZ. And if you're building condos in a small town, like, why wouldn't first time buyers just try and save a little bit more and get some land?
Yeah.
Like if you can get land, you 100% go for land over like even Hamilton. You can the same amount of money you can buy a condo for, you can get a piece of land in Hamilton for. Right. So I don't know.
It's interesting because it's all a cycle, right? If there's a certain amount of people at this time in Canada and a certain amount of houses, and we say there's a housing crisis, is more people living together right now? Are we going to see more of that?
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Because everybody right now, other than, there is a homelessness. Yes, there is. But at this point in time, if we take a snapshot, is it we do not have enough houses, or we do because there's a lot of vacancies, right? So where are we in this snapshot right this second?
I'll tell you one thing, we're going to find out. This year is going to tell us.
It's interesting because you would think if with a housing crisis, rent wouldn't have been, down 15% like it has been, and house prices wouldn't be down. Like, where is everybody? Is people bunking together? Is there that much more homelessness? I don't know. Or is it more of just the affordability and there's more people dropping to that, lower class living paycheck to paycheck? Is that the crisis?
More people moving home with their parents, more people getting roommates. Yeah, more people living with family. Maybe, there's a reason why someone bought all these rental suites with something in the basement to take care of their parents. I don't know. It's a good thing, but I think we're going to find out for sure. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting 2025.
Oh yeah. I think a lot is shifting.
Yeah. And
we're seeing a massive shift, but I do think that like it looks positive.
Yeah.
You know, like
Can it get any worse? It's like, that's the thing we need to ask
I
ourselves.
was listening to Shania Twain on the way here up, and it's
Yeah.
like, can only go up from here. And I'm like, yeah, Canada.
Yes, we
like
can.
we can only go up
We
from
can only
here.
go up from here.
Really? So
I
there's
really
a
think
certain
so.
freedom when you feel like, you know, there's going to be a change of power. Policies are already coming into effect that could help the people that are struggling. There's a big chunk of Canada that are just not struggling. The baby boomers, anybody who bought a house before 2019.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and so if you look at it as a whole, there's a lot of people that aren't struggling. We just hear about the people that are. So
well, I think it's our generation that's struggling, and the generation after us that's going to struggle too if we don't get a hold of this.
That's a concern too. Is hold on, let me get my little dog. Is setting up your children, right? It's because we were born in the 90s where all of our families, for the most part, we you know, they have equity because they owned a house, and just by nature of the market going crazy, they're all millionaires.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not going to say everybody, like that's
no, but it's true. You feel richer when your house price goes up or your stock portfolio goes up. And as soon as it takes a hit, you start to sit on cash a little bit more. You know, maybe you don't go on that vacation because you're not worth as much as you once were. And that all has economic impacts.
Yeah. And so how do you set up your children?
I don't think it'll be the same.
No, because
like everyone got rich if you owned a home. Like everyone, like they weren't geniuses. That's what you did. You just bought a house. Yeah.
They weren't trying to be smart.
It just kind of fell into their lap.
Everyone just bought a house because that's what you do.
I know. And some people are well, if you bought 10 of them, then you were a genius.
Yes.
How about that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. If you bought 10 of them, then you were a genius.
It's a scary world to think about. It freaks me out to hear about quantum computing and these mega computers that can do what every computer currently on the earth can do would take a year to do in just in a second. Like where AI is going freaks me out because I feel like there's no way to prepare.
Oh my God, I know. I've been listening to this too. I think that blue collar will be the new white collar, meaning that if you're really good with your hands and a robot can't do what you can do, then you'll be a very in-demand commodity. But I think a lot of companies are going to start using AI to their advantage where they can cut costs. Because if the computer can do it, why were they going to hire a person?
Right.
Which is scary. Because AI is moving quick. Like it's
so
crazy.
Quick. I was listening to a podcast on Joe Rogan about quantum computing. It'll blow your mind. It's like, oh my God, where is this? In 5 years, the world is going to look a lot different. I feel like a lot of even what we're saying right now is going to be obsolete because it just doesn't make sense in the world we're living in anymore. And that's the crazy part.
Just wait till cars start driving themselves. Like wait till you get in an Uber.
Wait till you get in an Uber that's in the freaking air.
Yeah. It's
and
crazy.
Just comes and shows up. Nobody needs cars anymore.
Yeah.
Like that is the scary part because then there will be a way to, like, you can't set all of AI to have human morals and stuff. Like people will use it for evil.
Evil, yeah.
And that's the scary thing.
Even drones and stuff too, right? Like a lot of the wars. Oh, which is another thing I have is that I think that Ukraine and Russia war will end.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it'll be over this year.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I really do think so. I think Donald will stick to his word and help them come to a resolution because I know Russia's economy is getting crippled.
Yeah.
It's getting off topic. Russia's economy is getting crippled and a lot of citizens are tired of all the money going to Ukraine. No disrespect on Ukraine. That's just what people are saying is that people are struggling in their own country. How are we giving our tax money to another country? And I get they're at war 100%. But yeah, they need to come to some sort of resolution. It's gone on for too long.
Yeah.
And I think it'll come. So there was one thing just real quick here is that Trump guaranteed that Ukraine will not be a part of NATO for 20 years as like a peace offering. Yeah. And Putin said no. So there was that. But at least there's talks.
I don't think that he'll back down. That's the thing. He wants that part of Ukraine. He feels threatened by the States and Ukraine and
NATO is big, yeah.
NATO, he's threatened. So I don't see him just backing down unless he gets what he wants.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see. That's what I think. I think that war will end. But yeah, I think that's all I got. You got anything else?
No.
It'll be a fun 2025
I think it'll be fun.
in Canada for sure.
Yeah. And like just getting back to like actual, because everybody's like the cortisol levels of Canada. Can you imagine?
It'll be nice when we don't, like, even we still talk about Trump a little bit, but like, you know, we don't even talk about Kamala Harris or Tim Walz anymore. Like that's over, right? Like I can't wait for the same thing here.
Yeah.
Like Trudeau's on his way.
Yeah.
You know, he does his own thing in life and he moves on. We get new leadership here and we don't have to talk about Jagmeet not giving us what we want and, you know, this projection and that projection. Like it's just will be nice for the country to just, let's have an election. Yeah. Obviously the Conservatives are going to win and let's just move on.
Let's move on. That's from all this. Good little, you know, from the past however many years that just.
It doesn't matter if Trudeau stays in, if you put someone new in. The best thing he can do is put someone new in, but they're still never going to win. The Canadians, like the polls, it's done. Yeah. The election is, if it happened today, it would be done and we could just all move on. So hopefully Trudeau had a nice Christmas and he can just, you know, thanks for your service for 9 years. Yeah. All the best, you know. Go get a consulting job and let the
that's bad. Do not hire him as your consultant.
But he could figure something else out. He can go skiing or something. So,
go skiing.
Yeah, go skiing and surfing, enjoy his big trust fund and just move on. Yeah. That's all I got for 2024. Yeah. All right. That's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for supporting us in 2024 and we hope to grow even more in 2025. If you are in the Toronto, Hamilton, Oakville, Burlington area, and you're looking to make a move, please consider supporting our podcast even further and seeing if Brooke and I are a good fit for you guys. First link down below in the description for a Zoom call with us. It's totally free. We just talk about your needs, your goals, and everything else. So thank you guys so much for the support. Please like and subscribe or leave us a review if you are on Spotify or Apple Music. Happy New Year, and we wish the best for your family in 2025. All right. We'll see you next week for the first episode of 2025.
2025.
See you guys later.